Is there a strategy that'll help you grow your company faster? CEO Sales Strategies is an investigative business podcast for entrepreneurial people who never stop asking questions. Highly acclaimed sales revenue growth expert Doug C. Brown interviews CEOs, business owners, and professionals who serve them to uncover and share actionable tips and methods behind their bulletproof sales strategies. Topics covered on the show include their failures, struggles, secrets, and processes that help them succeed in selling millions to billions of dollars of their products and services, all with the sole aim of helping you grow your business. If you are eager to know the most effective sales secrets from the A players of the game, then the CEO Sales Strategies podcast is certainly the place to be.
Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies podcast, and I'm bringing you a great guest today. His name is Mr. Peter Goodwin. Peter owns a company called Groove Life. Groove Life is in Tennessee. Check him out at groovelife.com. He's an interesting man. He's come from humble beginnings and built a company in 5.5 years to over 200 people, doing great things, having private and licensing deals, the National Football League, Tony Hawk, different types of places. But check him out at groovelife.com. He started his business up originally to earn an extra $50,000 for his family. He's got 4 children, a wife, and he wanted to have better vacations, more vacations, and be able to afford college for his kids growing up, give them a better life. So that from this freezing garage in Alaska, because he was a fishing guide and a tour guide prior to, out in the bush of Alaska, he actually started building this adventure wear, if you will, outdoor product wear. And he built it into what is today called Groove Life, with over 200 employees and very nice revenues and profits. So he has gone on to have endorsement deals, private label or I would say affiliate deals and or partnership deals with people who are very well known. Tony Hawk being one of them. A lot of pro players, football players. Marvel was another one. Marvel Comics, Marvel in general. Just really cool stuff. So we talk a lot about collaboration and how collaboration is a big factor in building a business, especially in scaling that company up as a sales strategy, and using collaboration, like using licensed partners, and collaboration with the employees, and collaboration with anybody that you come into contact with, and how being heart-centered in the mission, because in the beginning of building a business, we're more money-driven, and we can always be money-driven, but how do you build that mission in that heart-centered and that mind shift that you got to go through in order to do that? And in spirit of collaboration, we also talk about how do you hire the right people. In particular, we start going more towards salespeople and sales, because this is the CEO Sales Strategies podcast. So give it a listen. We're going to invite him in right now. Hey everyone, this is Doug C. Brown here with the CEO Sales Strategy Podcast. And I've got a gentleman I've talked with several times now who's intelligent beyond belief. And I do mean that in a very positive way. His name is Mr. Peter Goodwin. He owns a company called Groove Life. They are out of Tennessee. And Peter, welcome to the call, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. I appreciate you having me. I've never gotten an intro with intelligence in the intro. So that's, putting that on my checklist. Thank you.
Well, I have found you over the time that we have known one another to be one of those, what I would call almost like an Aikido master, where you allow somebody's energy to come in and then you kind of turn it and help them to accomplish what they want to accomplish. And that to me is high intelligence. That's a great leader. So I appreciate the way you are. Thank you. So Peter, Groove Life, why don't you tell people, if you don't mind, what is Groove Life? I mean, I know it's an adventure-inspired outdoors products company, but to me, it goes much deeper than that. How about for yourself? What is Groove Life, so everybody knows what it is?
Yeah, on the surface, Groove is an outdoor active accessory brand. So we make things from silicone rings to belts to watch bands, and really started with the silicone ring, kind of as an active outdoor person myself. But what Groove really is to me is a way to reach people, and not only my employees, and provide for my family and provide for my employees, but also, just really run an excellent business based off of my faith beliefs. That's kind of, the outward is, hey, we make really cool stuff that has a lifetime warranty that will serve you forever. But on the back end, it's like, hey, we really want to connect on a human level. everywhere from, on deep human level with our employees to, more of a surface level with our customers, but inspire, adventure. Our core tenets are serve the customer, serve people well, inspire, adventure, and reflect God in everything we do through excellence. So as a long answer to your question, but it is definitely more than selling trinkets to make tons of money, which is needed to accomplish the goal, but that's not the goal.
Well, behind every company I've ever worked with or have had the pleasure of conversing with, behind almost every great brand is a mission other than just let's sell some stuff.
Right.
And, everything on your website, everything that's infused throughout all our conversations are driven in that mission-based statement. And how important is it for a company? I mean, I think this is probably obvious, but from your perspective, how important is it for the growth of a company to have a mission-focused approach versus, hey, we're just going to go sell stuff today and tomorrow and the next day?
Yeah. Can I dive back into kind of why I started Groove?
By all means. I was going to get into that, and you started out, and I think, yeah,
we can go back deeper, but I kind of want to touch on it now. Is that I did not start Groove with this crazy mission to have 200 employees and serve them well and serve humanity, through just treating them really well. And I never thought I'd have the influence that I have. I started Groove. My wife and I started Groove to literally make $50,000 more a year so that we could provide for our children's future education, take a vacation, and have a little bit for retirement. So we were in the tourism industry in Alaska for the last 20 years. And so we lived out in the bush. I had airplanes. I didn't even have a car. We did all sorts of crazy adventures for people. And, you would come for a week at a time. And it's a good business. It's a lifestyle business, but not really a business that you make a lot of money. It's like farming, right? You get a lot of cool toys, but you don't actually make a lot of money. It's a lifestyle business. So my wife's like, hey, you need to do something else in your free time to make money for us because we have 4 young children. So I will say that we did not start with this, crazy why. I just was trying to provide for my family. And I think that is the best reason. It's actually probably the same reason we exist now, is that it was just more focused on my family unit, is to provide for my children, provide margin for myself so I could spend time with them, all of those things. And then as you grow and you get that, you're successful, I think it needs to expand out. So I think naturally probably is the same mission, values, and everything that we had in the beginning. It just has expanded, to more people and more people and more people. And how do I think it's important? I think I think everybody starts with that, unless you're just a greedy, capitalistic bastard. You that just wants more and more and more. I think everybody's trying to provide better for their family when you start a business. And I think you can probably lean into a little greed when you start to become successful. I think it's, get real clear why you started it. Was it for people? Was it, and it is self-serving for that it's just your family and your retirement, but can you expand it out from there? And do I think it's critical? I think it's absolutely critical. We know a lot of brands that sell to private equity, and it's just like they lose their soul almost immediately. They're not happy. The owner flushes out. It's just not a good thing, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just different. But I think for me to stay engaged in the business, I have to have this massive reason, and it's got to be people, because I have accomplished what I set out to accomplish, which is to provide for my family. So now what? And I think growth and the excitement of growth and winning in the game is fulfilling to a certain point. But if you don't, at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, if you can't go back to the real reason you're doing it, you're going to flush out eventually. And
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've seen myself, even in businesses that I've had or others that I've been involved in, once that kind of that mission, the reason why starts to sort of get to be, dulled to excess, if you will, then the business actually suffers because people start making different decisions based on what the success path was of the business in the first place. I love, let's give some context to the people who are hearing here. You started, I think it was 2015 or 2016, if I remember correctly.
Yep. January of 2016, we officially opened.
Okay, so now we're in August of 2021. So if my math's right, that's a little over 5.5 years, right? So you've gone from 0 to 200 employees, and that's pretty good growth by anybody's measuring stick. If you said, okay, look, these were maybe the first 1 or 2 things that we really figured out that got us, because I love what you stated in an article you did for Thrive Global, actually with me. So that was even better. That, the first million is the easiest in your opinion, because you get to ride the coattails of the pioneers who are already been out there. So you kind of got to that place, you started making money, but then you started expanding, right? You probably grew, got a little bit stable, and then, okay, we're going to expand. And a lot of people who come here to listen to this podcast are really interested in, how did he expand? What was the success strategies in sales in particular?
Right. Yeah, the first million, I mean, everybody says the first million is the hardest. I would say that's definitely the easiest. You don't have HR problems. It's just, if you're good at, I was just on a phone call with somebody earlier today. If you're good at solving problems and you have a product that people want to buy, then making $1 million in gross sales is somewhat, not that challenging. And I know some people are rolling their eyes now, but I would say the next 5 and 10 and 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 are much more challenging. You have to grow. It's a different set of skills. I mean, everybody talks about that, right? What got you to $1 million is not going to get you to 5. What gets you to 5 is not going to get you to 10. So, and you might have to jump in and remind me of the question you actually asked. But I would say that if people are interested in how we did it, I think it comes down to demand in the marketplace. Is the product that you're selling, whether it's information or digital or a physical product, is it already in demand? We talked about this in our first interview. When I looked at when I first got into this business, I was in the tourism business, and a buddy of mine came to me and said he was selling selfie sticks on the internet on Amazon. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry for you and your family. I know times are tough. And he's like, hey, we just sold $1 million in 10 months, and my mind exploded. And because I was thinking he was selling like used books on eBay, it was like selling stuff on the internet. And he said to me, hey, look, here's the model. Sell something that you could use and you could kind of tie into a story, and then to why you use it and how, and then sell it to a different audience. But make sure that it already has velocity in the marketplace. So getting to that first million, if you kind of answer those 3 questions, it's really quite simple. You can start on Amazon. There's all sorts of ways to do it. But getting to the next is, now you're empowering employees. You have to tell them why you're doing what you're doing. Some employees will be like, yeah, I can see myself getting rich in this company. That's enough for them. But a lot of times, especially nowadays with millennial, and whatever the next generation is, they don't really care about money as much as they do purpose. So getting that next 5 million is a lot to do with inner work. And maybe it's not 5 million, maybe it's 5 to 20 or whatever. But at some point I don't feel like I'm answering your question very well.
I actually feel you are in a lot of ways. Like, look, one of your strategies was doing the inner work, right? To build the culture around the people that were coming in, the millennials today, right? Because and I'll say in my generation, we were more, I would say, more money motivated as a primary. And today it's more life satisfaction. I mean, even when we're hiring salespeople, in our company, or for, helping clients hire sales teams for them, you're finding even your top producers today, they're looking for quality of life more than they're looking for an extra, $300,000 a year.
Right.
So the fact that you recognize that early on. And I noticed on your website, on the picture of the people in the company, a lot of them are millennials. They're in that age bracket. Yeah. So we have to cater to the growth of not only the external, but the internal. And I think you've done that like a master.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had I had a little bit of an advantage because of my faith background. I went through massive depression when I was in my 20s. And so I kind of had this turning point of like, either God was real and he, if you believe what Jesus says in the Bible, like love your neighbor as yourself, and like that is the actual only commandment. And so I had to realize, like, it was either about people and God loves people and he was going to use me to do that in my life, or I need to put a bullet in my head. Then I decided to kind of live that way, starting to live that way. And that was in, I was 27 when that happened. I started Goodwin when I was 34. So I kind of I had done a lot of inner work in my early 20s. And then I did a program called Mayhem Mindset, which mayhemmindset.com. I don't know what it is, but I don't get any affiliation with them, but they really helped me. We did a deal with Rich Froning, big CrossFitter. And then one of his coaches is Jim Hensel. And he kind of walked me through my core values. And this was just 2 years ago. So faith, family, and sacrifice are kind of my core values that I've come out with. So when you have a core value, when you're kind of coming out of your inner self to lead a company, to make money, to do something big. One problem that I have with most companies is that, at the bottom, at the end of the day, they don't really care about, whales in Africa. They don't really care about the elephants. They don't care about children in Nicaragua. They just want to sell more shit. And they're just going to tie this 1% to the planet or whatever the in vogue thing is to sell more things so they can buy their yacht or whatever. And I would say that is a short-term strategy, and people see through that, especially your employees. And if you really want to build a big brand that is probably going to be here for 50 years, which is our goal, is it's got to come out of the middle. And that's the hardest thing. Like, you can't replicate that. That's usually through pain and misery that you, and trials and suffering that you look inward. But I would say Mayhem Mindset is a good way to start for brands. Again, when you start a brand, you don't care about inner work really. You're just trying to make a living, right? And you like the game. But to go to that next level and to speak to these millennial kids and what's the next generation after them? I don't know. But they don't give a shit about money. They want they want to work from home. They want bean bags. They want food. We have these things. We have mandatory fun. Like the whole company stops and we paintball the executives. We do dunk tanks. We do it once a month and people win prizes and money and it's a hoot. That's actually a lot of fun. But if it was up to me, I'm kind of older school. I'm like, hey, let's just do business and then we can go home and play, but they want those things. And what we found is that even though it's frustrating and it's not typical business as usual to do those types of things, it actually makes life more fulfilling at work for us, for me and the other executives that are older. They're happier. So it's everybody's down on millennials. I think millennials are driving us to our humanity to, with work and maybe causing us to do that inner work so that we can lead them, because they will not follow if you are not genuine.
No, and I think that this is a really good subject matter for people. Right now, millennials are starting to shape the world because they're the up and coming group, right? So if we don't know how to employ them, if we don't know how to sell to them in a way that they want to be sold to, then people are going to see, even successful businesses are going to start to see a dip in their revenues or dip in their profitability because they're not going to be able to sell to the people who are just vehemently going to say, I'm not buying, right? Yeah. And if there's any testament to how successful you have been, I love this. I went up and looked at your 5-star reviews on your sites, and you have at present, what's published there, 99,883 5-star reviews just on 5 stars. And then you got some 4 stars, and there's very few 3 or 2 star reviews on there, which you're always going to get some of them if you have that many reviews. Want people to take out of this is the fact that you are heart-centered, mission-driven, you take care of the internal employees, that enhances the customer journey all the way through the process so that the customers actually feel more valued because the employees feel more valued. And so we're speaking with Mr. Peter Goodwin from a company called Groove Life, and they make some unbelievably great stuff. Go check it out on their website. And one of the things I love coming back, Peter, is the groove rings that you started out with. And I love this strategy of, 2 things. Number one, you had stated to not be the innovator, be an innovator, but find a problem that people are already experiencing and just give that to them, which is a very old marketing process, right? Yep. But I find so many companies don't do this today. They're trying to differentiate themselves in the market in different ways. And what's happening is they spend a ton of money on R&D. They spend a ton of money on personnel and all kinds of things, and they're not making the ground. But then when you found a problem that people were having, and if I remember correctly, keep me honest here, you made a ring that looked really cool, like it's a wedding band type ring, but it was also a breakaway. It would break away because in sports or adventure or whatever, if your ring got caught up, you could literally, break your hand, break your finger, you could lose a finger. And I thought that was amazing. And it reminded me of a story my dad was telling me about that we always embraced growing up, because my father had a electric motor machinery repair company. And he was in the Navy, and he would say every once in a while, somebody would catch their wedding band in a lathe, and that would take their finger right off, so my dad would never wear a wedding band, right? Now, my mom was like understanding of it, but at the same time, I could tell my mom always wanted him to wear a wedding band. But in your case, you make a product
like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so, but your groove ring, if you got it caught toward a lathe or something, it would break away. And
Correct.
therefore you can live to lathe another day, if you will.
Right. There you go.
Right. So I love how it all came about, because a lot of times people don't really realize that there is a problem sitting right there in their industry that they could capitalize on if they just gave them what they were looking for.
Right. Well, I have a story about that. So I was not first to silicone rings. A company called Safe Rings, they did the first one in the mid 2000s, and then another company really kind of made it mainstream called Kalo, QALO. Both those companies are run by good people. When my buddy said he was doing selfie sticks and made $1 million, grossed $1 million, we're entrepreneurs, we know what that means. But, he was just like, hey, what's a product you already use that you can make better? And so I was wearing some other ring, I can't remember which one it was, and it made my fingers sweat really bad and kind of pickle. I was out fishing and hunting and adventure guide in Alaska, and so I could not wear a metal ring. If you deglove your finger or take it off in the middle of the bush, you're a day to Anchorage, and or potentially, and so it could be life threatening. So nobody wore them up there. So I was wearing it, and I think I definitely got lucky. A lot of you can do your research and you can find out what has velocity in the marketplace. But at the bottom line is you need to find a product that has velocity already. Safe Rings and Kalo were really more the pioneers, and they spent a lot of money making people problem aware. Making the marketplace problem aware is the most expensive thing in the world, and the most successful company in the world doesn't even do it. Right? Apple has never tried to educate the consumer on the problem. In fact, they're the best plagiarizer in world history. Absolutely. I mean, they just came out with the tag, the Apple tags. The tiles went out for 10 years and finally got enough market velocity that Apple said, hey, we're going to come over and take this over. All right. Right. The iPad, the touchscreen phone, all those things were not even close. The iPod, I mean, computers, nothing. They've never done anything first, but they come in and they do it better. They make it easier. They tie an elite, sensation to people and give them value that way. There's all these things that they do. So that's our model is, hey, we're never going to make anything that is not already in demand. People are not problem aware. There's, it's like our belt that just came out, which has been fabulously successful. Get a belt. It's amazing. You'll never go back. There wasn't any like huge problems out there, but people needed a belt. The main problem is you need to keep your pants up, but there wasn't like this huge glaring problem with all belts that were unsafe or they pinched your hair or whatever. Belts have been around since Adam and Eve, probably. I don't know. How do you improve on the belt? And that was less of we're going to solve a huge problem. We solved a lot of little problems, but it was more of like people need a belt. So how do we put our spin on it? So don't be a pioneer, be a settler is kind of like that's written on the walls here at Groove. We don't ever want to be first in the marketplace. We don't want to ever invent some type of, new invention and then try to tell people about it. We'll go out of business. So I would advise everyone to, there are people that are addicted to new products and inventing new things. Let them do that and get some velocity. And then there's billions of people in the world. And this is what's wonderful about our time and our, world history and life is that I would never have been able to get distribution for my silicone rings if Kalo and this other company were first. But now I can sell to my niche. Nobody was really serving the hunting, fishing, outdoor crowd with this silicone ring concept, especially with the breathability. And so it was almost easy. Nobody was serving that. And I could get distribution. I could get eyeballs through Facebook and Instagram and all that. So you can really, in Kickstarter, we kickstarted. I highly recommend everybody kickstart everything because it really gives you great feedback. It gives you eyeballs and people will talk to you and tell you if they want your product or not. So it's a wonderful time to live, but don't be the first to market in a product. Innovate and sell to a different customer.
And I think you've also capitalized on using licensing on that concept, right? You have pro team athletes, you have, Tony Hawk, I saw on there, Marvel, and you're using licensing, which again is a form of you don't have to be the pioneer. Someone else has already built the brand and you can leverage through that brand.
Right. Yeah. The first licensing deal we did was Mossy Oak, which is a huge kind of camouflage company. So, how do you not only you got to think about where your audience is. Is it on Facebook? Is it on TV? Is it, who else has your customer? Masio had our customer. We were in the hunting and fishing kind of outdoor Alaska. That was our whole brand. So Masio and Cryptech was another one. We partnered with them early on. And what it does is just gives your brand legitimacy. Like, who the heck is Groove Ring or Groove Life? We're nobody, and then all of a sudden it's Groove Ring plus Mossy Oak. Mossy Oak's a legacy brand. They've been around for 40 years. They have millions of customers. You just piggybacked on there. You just absolutely legitimize yourself to that audience. So we still, there are still our best licensing. So we've done NFL, NCAA, Marvel, Disney, all these other, Tony Hawk was a good one. Tony Hawk broke his finger on a, half pipe, and we reached out to him on Instagram, and he's like, sweet. And we did a partnership with him, and now we sell his rings, and he loves them. I mean, he wears them all the time. So now we're kind of in the skateboard, it's not our core group, but we sell a lot to skateboarders for Tony Hawk. So yes, again, it's all about having a product. And can I touch on something else about margin? I preach this all the time to my team, but we need to be able to 10x our COGS, right? To be able to make enough money to pay for the party. And when I say pay for the party, I'm talking about full benefits for everybody, retirement for everybody, great pay, competitive or higher than pay. We want to have a great working environment. We want to do mandatory fun. We want to feed our people a couple times a week with a chef. We want to do all these things, right? And we need to be able to make, at the end of the day, 15 and 20% profit. So how do you do that? So for us, it's always 10x our COGS. And sometimes we vary, with licensing and stuff, it's not quite that. But if you don't have amazing margins, then you will never be able to build people first business, because you're going to be scared. I mean, entrepreneurs, humans, it's greed and fear. It's like one of the two all the time. And a place of rest is, hey, we let's not be greedy, but let's not be fearful. So let's price our products so that we don't ever have to be fearful, and we can have some reserves so that we can build a culture. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you focus on the people will make you lots of money. They will come to work late. They will just make the business, but you have to have the margin, be able to pay them and give them that security. So I see a lot of mistakes where people have 30% gross margin or profit, and it's like, that's not going to work. So that's not to say that every product, we try to shoot for every product, but not every product has that. Like our belts don't have nearly as much as our rings, but so it's a balance. But margin, there was these nuns that ran I think it was Baptist, hospital in all of Southeast United States. And I have a buddy who's a CEO of a hospital, and he's like, man, the nuns, he was like, those sisters are ruthless. And their whole motto, they're nuns, right? So it wasn't Baptist. I guess it was like St. Vincent Hospital or something. I don't know. But their motto was, it was all over their boardrooms and everything, was that there's no ministry without margin. So you can't be excellent. You can't treat your people right. You can't really have a higher mission and goal if people are not paying a premium. And I'll say this real quick, and I'll shut up about it. But if you treat people well, your customers, and so we have an unlimited lifetime warranty. We don't require you to send your product back. We'll just send you another product. We have all of our customer service is right next door. Speak English. We 24/7 support. We spend a lot of money on customer service, because it's like, you mentioned earlier, you have 3-star reviews. We love 3-star reviews, because we actually call those people up and say, hey, can we do better? What can we do? And we give them a refund, and they become like lifelong customers. Absolutely. We love 3-star reviews. So, but to be able to do that, you have to have the margin. And that is, there's no ministry, there's no party, there's no real brand longevity without a lot of margin. So, what I was going to say is, when you treat people well, they don't mind paying premium prices. They just don't, especially for a product under $100, whether it's $30 or $50, you treat them like a human being, and you treat them well, and they have a great experience, a consistent, great experience on your site. And then with your marketing and everything, $50, $20 more, it's nothing, but that's everything for your business, everything. So our belts are $60, right? And I can't keep them. We're out. But a lot of that has to do with COVID shipping, I'll be honest, but we sell the belts like crazy, and we don't have any hesitation from people, because if they ever have a problem with their belt, we give them a new one forever. And to be able to do that, I got to have the margin to be able to replace that belt 1.5 times, right? And the ring 6 times without losing money. But that's how you build a brand.
No, I think this is an excellent point because a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they're not selling for higher margins because they don't know how to sell on value. What I'm hearing loud and clear is, and this is a mission through the whole company, it's like collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. And we're going to collaborate with our people who are buying in the form of providing them high value and getting their feedback and making sure that they really love what we do and what their thing is. And I think a lot of companies, they don't look at it this way and they falter and they stumble, right? Because they're like, oh my God, or they'll try to squeeze down the margins, to support the VCs or whoever put the money in, right? The investors, not that they're bad people, but they'll try to squeeze down margins. And what they'll do is they'll limit things within the company that actually promote a great customer experience.
Right.
Excellent. Hey, we're talking with Mr. Peter Goodwin from a company called Groove Life. Go check them out at groovelife.com. They got some really cool stuff there. High value for you. And you'll be unique with some of these things that are on this website, and you can use them as conversational pieces as well.
Yeah, go through our funnel and copy it. It works.
We could talk about so much stuff. I want to talk about the collaboration a little bit more because you do a really great job at what I would call hiring people, plainly, right? And I think you stated, like you hire the smartest people you can afford, or even if you can't afford, right? I remember when you were mentioning you hired, I think it was a COO in the beginning, and he was making 3 times what you were making, et cetera. But let's talk a little bit about hiring, because so many people who listen to this are always like, I want to hire top performing salespeople. And I just haven't been able to figure out how to do it. And you have a wholesale division as well as your direct to consumer division, which you employ salespeople. So what would be kind of, if you had a methodology or, step by step, hey, step 1, step 2, and if not, what would be the right way to hire somebody?
Yeah, we don't know what we're doing yet, but it's working. So whatever that's worth. A couple of practical things was we use a DISC test. The DISC is like an Enneagram. So we kind of know, especially anybody making more than $50,000 a year, on a salary or whatever, we kind of know what that person, we've had some advanced, I have a guy on staff that's like advanced trained in this. So we have an upper edge, but we actually brought a consultant in early on and said, hey, for an accountant, what is the DISC profile for a great accountant? What is the DISC profile for a great salesperson? What is the DISC profile for whatever, right? And so that was kind of one of the filters we pushed people through. If an accountant is like life of the party, like looking to hang out at the water cooler and crack jokes, like that is not a good accountant. You should not be in accounting. However, you should probably be in sales. So, when you have and you give somebody a DISC test before they come in, when they walk in for their interview, they won't even get here if they don't have the right DISC profile. So I mean, this drives me crazy that Fortune 500 companies don't have this figured out. Why in the world would you stick a person who doesn't like people, who's numbers driven, on the floor of your retail space at AT&T? And they're pissed off that you're there. They're pissed off that they have to work. They're not happy. They don't like people. They don't like to talk. And it's like, hello, this is basic human, this is how God made people. He made people like 6 different ways. And that's it. So find out, and it's not fair to those people to put them in positions, that might pay well, but they're not going to thrive there. So that's one. The other thing, we really, 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 really are hardcore in culture. I'm very strong in my faith. I'm not a very religious person. I think religion is evil. But I think when I say, I believe that God loves people and he wants us to love our neighbor and our brother. And like, that's how. So you don't have to have my particular faith values to work here at all. We have Buddhists, we have all sorts of different types of people, but you got to love people. Like that is the requirement. And I don't think that's illegal on the HR front. If it is, then who cares? Sue me. I'm not going to hire people that aren't people first. So when I talk to somebody, I get, like they call it, around here, the Braveheart speech. I tell them like, look, we don't give a dang about silicone rings and belts. Those are products to get us to people so that you and your family can thrive, so that our customers can have a great experience in the chaotic world that they live in, that we can give them a nugget of light, of consistency, of if they reach out to our customer service, we can give them a smile. those are things people will trade. That's a value we give to them, and they'll give us value back. So on the employer side, if we can take the pressure and the margin of life, give them more margin to take the pressure of providing for their family off, that's a huge value to our employees, and they will give us massive value back. It's just, it seems self-serving, but it's not. It's the economy. It's like a circular economy of value. So and that's how the world works, like it or not. There's not many people that will just do something for nothing in return. So, and you don't want that, right? You don't want your employees just to work for money. And that is an exchange of value. You want them to work with their soul.
Profile is probably not a nice word for people to use, right? But I mean, really what you're doing is you're looking at the job title, the job specificity, what somebody's going to experience in a daily basis. And you're using a personality test to say, okay, does that fit this particular role, right? And I do the same thing on sales when I'm helping companies hire salespeople, especially. And we also have sales specific, right? Do they actually have the ability to be a hunter, or do they prefer to be a farmer? Because a disc test, right? Yeah. So, do they have the will to sell? Do they have the follow-up skills, specific measurements in the role? So what I love about what you're doing with DISC is you're getting them into the place where it's like, at least it's a fit, and it's a fit. So you're not putting somebody who doesn't really like to talk to people in a position where they're forced to talk to people.
Right. Which is like, so everybody does that. It just drives me crazy. It's not that hard. People are not going to, I don't know. You just put people in the right positions. It's for their sake. You know what I mean? They will thrive, and it's just basic human.
Well, I think part of the challenge is, and please, correct me if you think I'm incorrect, is I see a lot of people trying to hire off of two factors. Number one, the resume, and number two, likability. And firstly, the resume always is not true. Right. People embellish upon it, right? So, and then especially in sales, they go, well, this guy's likable, I think he could sell, or this gal is likable, I think she could sell. And the truth is they may be able to sell in the right capacity, in the right role. But the reality is, if you put a person who's not, fears rejection in a hunting role,
not good
at all, right? They're not going to make it. And it's not their fault. It is the company's hiring process that
it's your fault. 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think you're doing them a disservice by not doing your homework on who you need to hire. You're going to have disruption. You're not going to be able to grow as fast. I mean, it's a ninja trick, but it's like super basic. It's almost like, they should give personality tests before you go on dates. You know what I mean? I mean, literally, because you're going to be attracted to your opposite typically. And why go out with somebody that's just like you? So it's just funny how we are as humans. But I'd say that culture with the DISC test, having margin to be able to pay them a competitive or more than competitive wage, giving them purpose telling them why they're going somewhere, where to go and why. And right now everybody's having a hiring shortage of people. Man, we got people in line to work here. And we mostly hire through word of mouth, almost entirely. Like, there's some really specific marketing needs that we have that we'll kind of venture out and go on Indeed and whatnot. But for the most part, we got a waiting list, and it's because we're different, right? We have a soul, and we sell trinkets like everybody else, but we're doing it for a bigger purpose. So.
And you're doing it and driving tons of revenue doing it as well. So you're doing something right, because people wouldn't keep buying over and over and over if it wasn't a benefit for them. And we have a 40% return rate, and our lifetime customer value is like through the roof. So it's working. Again, I don't know if it was a master plan or if it was just like, man, love your neighbor as you would yourself, right? I know that that probably rubs people the wrong way, but like, how can you not? Whether it's coming from Gandhi or Buddha or Jesus, like, it's about love and loving your people, loving your neighbor. And it sounds kind of weird. And, private equity doesn't like to talk like that and all that, which we don't like private equity. They're all about the bottom line and next quarter's results. Fuck next quarter's results. Like, what is 5 years results from what we're doing? That's how I want to run my business. And we're going to take a hit. We're about to cancel an entire product line right now, and we're going to lose millions in inventory. We're like taking a write down on it, because I'm not satisfied that it's a 5-year fit for our brand. And man, my finance team's having a fit. And I'm like, it doesn't matter.
we're either building a 50-year brand or we're building this thing to sell. And I'm not building this thing to sell. We're building it to impact more people that we can. So anyway, it's just a different mindset.
Well, and I think it's no, absolutely. I can tell you wouldn't be the worst cusser on this call. I guess, and we don't filter it either, because the people are the people, right? And that, a friend of mine once said to me, we were standing by a graveyard and I was looking at the gravestones, and it was like, person born, and I always like to look back, oh wow, they were born in 1602 and they died in 1701, right? They lived a long life. And so I said to my friend Jim, I go, Jim, there's always a start date and an end date, and there's always a line in between, right? And I said, I'm not really sure we can extend the line that long, but we can get maybe a few years by being healthy and doing all the stuff we want. But I said, the line's kind of fixed. So what we do in between is our quality of life. And he goes, yeah, the one thing you can do with that line, though, is you can make it fatter. You can make it thicker, right?
Yeah.
And I telling this story because to me, it embodies everything that you do and everything that Groove Life does within their company. Is they make people's lives, they enhance their lives through what you're doing with them, and giving them a higher quality of life. And quite frankly, losing a finger, or, as you said, out in the bush. I mean, I used to be in the Army, and, I remember being at a winter survival training camp one time, and some guy took his tongue and stuck it to the side of a truck. and we had to pour water on there to get him off, but people's rings would also freeze in that thing, or worse yet, they would start to really get to their skin and start to cause health issues, right? So I think, you're providing super value for people. Hey, before I let you go, I just want to ask one question, because I know a lot of people are really, they're like trying to figure this out. You use digital advertising in like a master, as far as I can see, or at least it's been a big contributor to your business. How important do you think it is today to actually be advertising, digitally?
Yeah, I still think it's not a question of is it important? It's like, where are the customers? Where are the eyeballs? I mean, I'm not in any way loyal to Facebook or Instagram or Google, but that's where the people are, right? Back in the day, I'd have been loyal to the local newspaper. The question is not, is it important? It's like, are the people there? And if the people are there, then it's important. So the problem is, it's probably harder now than ever to get in and thrive in digital marketing. When I started, I was taking pictures on my iPhone, which was like iPhone 6, or whatever it was back then. Mm-hmm. And I was getting like a 5x return on my ad spend. On the month. It's amazing, man. If I'd have started this business in 2013, wow. But now it's harder than ever with all the updates, and all the big tech are fighting, and there's censorship. And my sister has a swimsuit brand of modest swimwear, for like one-piece swimwear for like pregnant mothers and stuff, and they got taken down off Facebook because for nudity. Like what? So there's no recourse. Like Amazon's canceling people, and a lot of times it's not even legitimate. Like my sister's swimsuit brand. So if you build your whole house on sand, basically, which would be Amazon. We just got into Amazon 2 years ago, and we're 8 figures on Amazon. So the point of that being is that we did not start on Amazon. We started on our own website because we figured we could diversify the traffic coming in, and they couldn't change an algorithm and shut us down. So specifically answer your question, it's extremely important. How you do it is different. You've got to get creative. There's lots of influencers and TikToks, and there's so many people doing different things. There's top of funnel, there's middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. I can just tell you what we're doing. We are very much focused on wholesale right now. We have 3,500 retailers that carry our product, but we want it to get to like 8,000. We need 33% of our product to be sold in retail. We need 33%, or probably like 20% third party, like Amazon. We don't really want to give it. And then we want the rest to be our own. And that just stabilizes the brand. So if Facebook cancels us because we, whatever, right? I mean, the flavor of the month, right? Then our whole business isn't shot. So if you're in our executive meetings, January 1 of 2021, you would have heard these things, and you would have heard them ever since. We're going to diversify this brand. We're going to diversify the product line. We want not all of our sales to come through rings. So how do we do that? We double down on product development. We have like 2 industrial designers. We have 6 people in that division. We're pumping out new products because we need our revenue streams to come from different products, not just rings, right? Rings go out of vogue or whatever happens, right? So we diversify channels. So how do we, wholesale, e-com, third party, and we diversify eyeballs, traffic. So Facebook, Google, Instagram, how do we get more traffic? So for us, we were like 30% organic, which is great. Now we've gotten that up to 40. We'd love it to be 60. So you just kind of, in this world, it's hyper competitive and things are changing like crazy. Diversification is everything. And that's how we diversify. We diversify channel, traffic, revenue source, and those three things right there. So
excellent. Thanks, Peter. Well, I really appreciate you being here. And again, we're talking with Mr. Peter Goodwin, who's the founder of Groove Life. They're in Tennessee. Check them out at groovelife.com. They got some really cool stuff, belts, rings, all kinds of neat stuff. Go up and get yourself something unique for yourself. Peter, I want to thank you for being here. I think people will get a ton of value out of our conversation. And I really appreciate you taking your time being here today.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. I appreciate you, man. And I'll say to all the entrepreneurs out there, just, keep solving problems, do the inner work, find out what your core values are, and then share those core values with your employees, and they'll follow you off the cliff. And hopefully you don't go off the
cliff. Thanks again, Peter. Okay, that was really great. Peter's a really good guy. He's a genuine person. I love the fact of, and I always love the fact that when people, they don't really know what they're going to do, but they get into something, they start figuring it out, and they never quit, and they just keep building, and they get themselves to a great level. I love the fact that the guy's got almost 100,000 five-star reviews on the website, because that says a lot about the quality and the value that they provide. He and I got a chance to talk even after the podcast. And, one thing I really appreciate about him is he's constantly trying to learn. He's constantly trying to grow his company. He's constantly trying to grow the people as well, as the revenues in the company. But he himself is going through shifts along the way. And I see so many entrepreneurs, they kind of get stuck there. They're just like, well, you know what, I'm making this. I want to go more, but I'm kind of stuck and I'm really not sure how. And a lot of times it comes back to the inner workings of what we do within our own minds that actually prohibit us or propel us to move forward. As usual, if you like this episode, please give it a 5-star review. I love hearing all your comments. Keep sending them to me. I really appreciate that. You could send them to doug@businesssuccessfactors.com. You can go to dougbrown1234@gmail.com. And, most people won't give their cell phone number out, but mine's 832-549-4836. Feel free to text me, call me, and let me know what you want on these podcasts, because I would be happy to go out and bring these type of guests to the podcast that you're looking for as well. And I wouldn't be a great coach, consultant, advisor if I didn't tell you that, if you're looking for somebody to help you grow your revenues or increase your profits, to, reach out to me, because I'd be happy to talk with you about how we can do that, how you can do that, and what kind of services that I could provide to help you out there. So again, this is Doug C. Brown with the CEO Sales Strategies Podcast. Go out, sell something, make some money, impact the world, and convey your value to your success.